is Johan. Hello. Yeah, I agree. We should definitely try to do this more often. And yeah, for anyone, we haven't really planned that much for this, so let's just see where we end up, right? And yeah, so we for those there is a develop branch which is quite ahead of the master branch currently. So we try to have a develop branch that where we put the yeah, features that are more or less done, but we need to test them a little bit. And then we have the master branch where we only push hotfixes to, and those are the ones that are pushed out and automatically updated to anyone who has installed yeah, the main version of the SuperConductor. But yeah, there are a few. Let's see if I can bring a few of them up. One of the main, more cooler thing I think is the global hotkeys feature. Let me switch to this. So this is running a developer version of this. And we have the global hotkeys. So let's say if I add the keyboard shortcuts, let's say I add Q to this one, I now can choose to this little globe sign, and this makes it a global hotkey. So that makes it so that you don't have to have the window focused to play it anymore, which is nice. And that's a pretty useful thing. We could add, and then you can add like F5 and F6 and F7 and such to certain parts to play them wherever. And this also works both with these rundown parts, but also with the application actions. Now, I actually started to be unsure, is the application actions in the released version or not? I got a bit unsure now, actually. No, these are also new. Yeah, I mentioned just a few. No, actually,
I think at least what I remember is that there's been a lot of traffic in the pull requests being merged.
yeah.
Uh,
No, I don't think this has been released yet. Yeah, so let me show you a quick,
maybe not
quick
released.
one.
Yeah.
So this one is. Let me just. Let me disable this. Oh dear, there we go. So you can see here we can set some application-wide things now. So we have like F1, F2, F3 for stop, play, and play stop, pause, and so on. And so now I have F2 is play, for example. So this is very similar to how the old Casper client worked. So you can just select something and hit F2 to play it. So you don't actually have to find the buttons now, which is nice. And the cool thing with that is that you could if you assign an action here, for example, play stop to your X keys or stream deck, for example. I mean, if you want to, you could use that the same way and just
Cool.
play. Yeah, so you could like the application itself doesn't differ between a keyboard or a stream deck or X keys. So any of the triggers work the same way, which is kind of cool. So yeah. So that's a nice little feature. So there's coming, yeah. So there's a lot of good features action-wise and triggering-wise coming up. We need to test it a little bit more, but I hope we can get it out within a couple of weeks. Merge it to master.
Cool. What do you think you'll be working on today?
Yeah, I have one thing that I've been thinking of for a while, and it is that the X keys have these analog inputs. You have the T bar, and then you have you have a lot of these different things. You have jog wheel and shuffle, or there's a joystick version too on the XA24. And there's kind of been like a perfect what's the word? Not a perfect storm, but it's this to have these analog inputs combined with the newly added feature of in TSR the data store.
The data store, yeah.
Yeah. So Balte in our team was working on a pull request that was merged just a couple of weeks ago, which is really cool, which allows us to, how should I describe it? It's like a performance feature, really. It allows us to push updates to TSR without having to recalculate the whole timeline. So normally, with SuperConductor, when you hit play, it updates the timeline and sends it to TSR, the timeline state resolver. And then that one takes that objects and resolves it and figures out that, oh yeah, this object is going to play and for how long and on which device and so on. And then it generates the commands and send it out to the device. But it takes a little while to recalculate this timeline, especially if you have many things playing at once. And with a lot of time, I mean, I'm still talking milliseconds here, not talking seconds. But so like if you have 100 objects or something, or quite complicated logic playing out things, it takes a little while. So my idea here is to use the data store feature, which enables us to like target one specific property on one or more objects in the timeline. So for example, it could be like the volume, the audio volume of an object, or it could be like a scaling property, something like that, a numerical property, or it could be a textual too, I suppose. But then to be able to tie that to the analog input of the X keys or something like that.
Yeah.
In order to like be able to control things like a volume or a scaling, or I mean if we control vmix and those kind of things, you could control audio faders or on an atom or something like that. And by going that route through the data store, we don't actually have to send a whole timeline object for the update to do. So the data store update is a very cheap one and should be very quick to do. So that's something I would like to explore.
Yeah, that's cool.
Have you any ideas?
Yeah, I don't
Why
I
not?
don't think I'm gonna do anything so groundbreaking. I think I was thinking of oh, wrong display. Not this one. This one. Go. Yeah, I was thinking of looking at some of these issues that people have created. And a couple of these had my crosshairs on, but I see that you and Alex have already progressed on them. But I was thinking on about looking into things like adding a filter for filtering resource library items. I think we had a request from the Casper CG forum on being able to do that. I think that sounds reasonably self-contained to be able to add. So yeah, I think I'll be working with that and seeing how complicated it is to add something like that.
Yeah. So should we pick one of those to start on maybe, and then we can. I don't know how far I will get with my thing. I don't really think I will be able to have something working today, but yeah, it would be. Maybe we can end with that and start with a few of those issues first.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I think I'm gonna take ownership of this. What's it called? Filtering thing. I'm gonna start working on that, and yeah. I mean, this is gonna be very, off the cuff and very unplanned. So don't expect us to talk too much. But yeah, let's see. I think it's gonna be fun. At least it's gonna be productive, and someone's gonna get a resource library filter out of it. So I think that's good.
For the resource library, this is something that Didi suggested, right, on the Casper forum.
Yeah, I think so. I think he would like to have this ability to essentially decide what he wants to see, and I kind of understand that. I mean, especially if you have a lot of these things going on in the library, then yeah, it kind of makes sense to be able to filter them. So I guess we should start in resource data, resource library item, sidebar. Yes, sidebar resource library. That sounds like a good place to start. Are you sharing your screen as well? I'm going to. No, I don't think it's just going to pop up if you. Oh, you've got your own controls, right? Okay, so I'm thinking the library filtering already, I think, feels somewhat overloaded. So I'm thinking let's add some sort of
You want to hear a crazy idea?
Yeah.
So this is something that kind of would work sometimes, but not always, I think. But like if one were to make kind of like suggestion pills or something like that. So so like let's say you have a lot, like if you have a Casper device, you would probably have like 20 media clips and then 10 templates, for example. Then one algorithm that would be kind of cool would be to search and group them together and generate two pills, one for Casper templates and one for Casper media files. And then when those are clicked, those would populate the filter with, to view those only.
Oh, so essentially like stored filters.
Yeah, but like either stored or automatically created. Like these are the most useful ones to just give like, because a user would be able, you have to make two selections, right? One is which type of device you have, and then another is like what subtype of that device. So the device would be a Casper, and then a subtype would be a media or a template.
Template, yeah.
But then in some devices you have like the Atom, which has like, I don't know, is it 10 different subtypes? You have the ME, the AUXes, the audio faders, DSKs, various. So it might not work as well in those cases. It's also something, maybe just adding the subtype of filtering for starters could be a
I mean that's what Digi asked for. Is to basically be able to say I want to see all Casper CG templates, and but I kind of feel like already in. So my feeling is that this view is already sort of overloaded slightly, because we have this area that's not, so already this kind of takes up a lot of space. So I'm thinking if we could basically have, because my initial feeling would be, okay, if I'm looking for a resource, my first choice will be to go for resources by name, because like quite likely,
do a global search.
I can do like, I know that I have a file called something, and I'm just gonna go for that. And then if that doesn't work, I can twirl down some sort of a twirly thing, some sort of a pop-up, and then see, okay, I'm looking for Casper CG on this given Casper CG machine, or I'm looking for only Casper CG templates or something, and then being able to narrow that list down further, I guess. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, let's try it.
what's your idea on integrating with the triggers from the device? I mean, how do you pipe that data into the data store and figure out what goes into the timeline objects?
Good question. So piping the data into the application is easy. That seems to work. Like I cheated a little bit, so I started a little bit before. But yeah, but actually figuring out a good way to like how to tie this data into like what it's going to control is yeah, that's definitely something that would be good to talk about a little bit. I can show you how far I've gotten this far. Let's see. I should share my screen as well. How is the resolution here? Do you think this is a good resolution?
Yeah, I think that's good enough. I think you... Oh, okay. Sorry. You need to repeat yourself. Because I think I muted you
oh, right.
by mistake.
Am I back now?
Yeah, you're back now.
Yes. So like with the Stream Deck, it doesn't have any analog inputs at all. So I'm just going to ignore that for now. So I started a little bit just this morning, looking into the X keys, and they emit their values in various ways. We have the jog, we have the shuttle, the T-bar, and the joystick. And honestly, this is like Hail Mary programming. I have no idea where we're going to end up. But I figured that it would be cool to emit just like, no matter what type of the input is, to emit it as like a generic analog input. And then I have a gut feeling that in the future it might be good to emit both an absolute and a relative value. Because, I mean, for some, like the T-bar, it makes sense to... okay, I have no idea what... If is my T-bar showing now? Yeah, like the T-bar has an absolute value.
And that's being emitted through the X-keys integration library.
Yes. So this outputs 0 when it's down and up to 255 on top, and that's an absolute value, and it has an absolute value, right?
Okay.
But then there are, it's like the jog wheel. This only emits basically 1 and -1 when I jog it, so it doesn't have an absolute 1. And then this shuttle, I think this is the shuttle. No, this is, well, it's not a shuttle, but maybe it is. I've forgotten. Anyway, this one emits a value from -7, I think, up to +7 when I turn it. So that has an absolute value, but it also returns back to 0 since it's spring-loaded. So I mean, they work in kind of like various ways, but I can think that maybe it would be cool, like if a user can choose if they want to use the absolute or the relative value. For like a volume, you might want to use the absolute one, but
Yeah.
it could also make sense to have a relative one in that case. Maybe it would be cool to let the user decide to have like a checkbox, use the absolute or the relative one. Because the absolute one will tie itself to the absolute position always on startup. But if you choose the relative one, then you won't have any jumps in values, so to speak. So yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna try that, and then like often I get only an absolute or a relative from the device. So in that case, I calculate the other one myself. For like the absolute one, I just cache an absolute value of 0 on startup, and then I add the delta to it and return that. And the other way around for the relative, I calculate the delta using the absolute values. So it can kind of work in both ways. And yeah, so then I work my way backwards. So this runs in the TSR bridge. So actually, for those of you who know Companion, there is the Companion satellite. And this kind of works the same way, where you can connect a bridge to SuperConductor, and that can run either locally or on another computer. And that's the thing that the X keys and the StreamDecks connect to. So it doesn't have to be on the same computer. So it can run on like a Raspberry Pi or something like that if you want to. But yeah, so I'm traversing back here. This is basically just data piping to handle that. And then now we are back into the innards of SuperConductor. And I haven't gotten much further than here where, let's see, I met this event to here, and here we have two paths. So this one sends along the event to the connected GUIs. So right now there's only one, but still. And then here would be something which we could add. I basically copy and pasted the previous workflow we have, or the data flow for the triggers. But yeah, so here would be something we would have to add, and this is sending it to the client. And if I do this, let's see where. I suppose you can see my console now a little bit. If I move this now, I actually do get some data through. So I've gotten the data flow to work. And that's basically how far I've gotten currently. I added a little something to just have something to play with, because I realized we don't have any mixer commands yet. So I added to transform things. So I added these temporarily. So for example, if I hit play, should be playing? Yeah, there we go. And then if I change this, it will so break now, but anyway. If I change this to 50%, it actually this does work.
Cool.
I know how to do it. Look at me doing video stuff. There we go. Yeah. So yeah. it's kind of possible. So I'm thinking what I would like to do is to tie these things to this reference data store, so it will update these later on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I've been preparing. So I'm thinking, yeah, I need a little think on how to proceed.
All right.
On that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, right.
how's it
And
going for you?
in the meantime, I've been trying to figure out how to filter out these resources. So I do have now this array for resource type filter value, which is going to contain an array of the types, resource types that we want. For some reason, I'm not getting. Oh, it's resource any. What is resource any?
That's any resource. So that represents a logical OR for any of the various resources.
What does resource any look like? Ooh, shared models. Models. Shared models. Resource. Index. Resource. Resource base. Resource type. So resource any should have a resource type then, I guess. Okay. It's basically TypeScript fault, but this should have a resource something. I'm pretty sure it's not any. So this is supposed to be resource type. And so actually, I think we can specify that this should be an array of type, maybe. Do we have any shared? No, let's just use a string. Yeah, if it contains this filters by type. So now we need a filter resources by object type. It's also resource type. Filter resources by type. And I think we can skip this one for the time being. Handle, this should be device filter value. No, it's not device filter value. It's now called resource type filter value. This is also called resource type filter value. And this will need to generate. We also need one of these. Handle device filter change. I also need to generate this list of available types. Let's see if this builds now. He's gonna, yeah, okay. We've got some types. We should probably look into making them look nicer, especially since this actually does try and make them look nice. So,
ooh, that's nice. Yeah.
probably some function. Let's see. Gas procedure template. Yeah, okay. It's broken, but it's getting there. I can filter by templates. I can
In the best
see
way.
just the MEs, and I can, yeah. Okay. It's getting there. I wonder how does this thing work? Because this is doing the same thing, but nicer. Did I? Ah, okay. This does this render value thing. This is the thing that saves the day. Okay, so we're looking at selected resource types. And then selected resource types, map, resource type. And it's basically the same thing over here. So let's get device name defined. Can we define something like, yeah, okay. Import on get resource type name. I'm just gonna give us a nice string and then yeah, now let's just see what explodes now. If anyone has any questions about the SuperConductor or TSR or timeline or anything, then definitely feel free to ask anytime. I'm trying to keep an eye on both Twitch and YouTube chats and stuff, so we definitely are very much ready to answer some questions. Okay, we've got filtering by resource type. We can say media. And yeah, we can only see media. I can say Casper CG template. And yeah, I can only see templates. This looks pretty good, I think. There's something weird going on over here. I think this is down to...
Jan?
Yeah?
I lost the audio from you just now.
You did? Okay.
Although I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear very well. And I think... Yeah, I can hear you very well, and I think people can hear me. At least that's what OBS says. Let's see. I'm gonna
Okay, yeah, your audio seemed to go out on Twitch in a way, so that's good.
I'm gonna do this, and I'm
Suppose
gonna
it's
do
only
this.
me. I will restart
How
my
about now?
Ninja.
Yeah, all right. Okay, can you...
Video Ninja.
Come again?
Yeah, we're using the, what's it called? The Video.Ninja.
Video.Ninja, yes,
Right.
open source for the win.
Oh,
In
yes.
true Hacktoberfest fashion.
Yeah, my only problem with it right now is the return feed is very low bitrate. But if I follow you along with Twitch on Twitch with a few seconds delay, that's it's crisp. But
Okay.
the return feed is more of potato
Hi.
quality, unfortunately.
Potato
I
quality.
haven't found if it's possible to increase the bitrate there. So
I don't think I can for my return channel. Something on audio, room settings.
no matter. It works. It works well with the Twitch stream too.
Yeah, all right.
So how's it going?
Well, I do have this. Oh, nice. That music's starting. Yeah, so I do have the filtering on types, and you can select and deselect and stuff. So I'm thinking of adding like a twirly sort of thing so that you can go like, oh, I want A and B and pay out quickly. And then if you want to dig into like specific settings, then you can, which feels like a simple enough thing. So, you know, it seems like I'm gonna maybe even have some time for another issue. That'd be nice. One thing I kind of always struggle is navigating this component library that we're using. the MUI. I mean, I like it because, like, obviously having a big library of components that you can just take one and use is nice. But then always like figuring out which one to use is kind of always a hassle. I mean, should I use an accordion? I guess I should use an accordion. Transition props.
Yeah, I suppose this is also maybe a design pattern we should adopt for when we edit the timeline objects. Currently, we've been implementing it in a way so that options that have been modified show up, and then the rest are like hidden behind a link or a button that says show all settings, something like that. Yeah, maybe it would be nice to have something like an accordion or something like that there as well, where I think still think it's nice that things that have been modified by a user should be displayed by default, but then have to hide the rest in an accordion or something like that.
You figured out that you need a new import. Well, no, yeah, okay. Then let's go to the imports and summary. details. And what else do we need? Typography. Do we have a typography import? Yep. Okay. We have a typography import. We've got the filters. Probably don't need that one. Probably don't need that one either. Expand more icon. Oh, where to get this icon? Okay, let's look. Icons. Do we have like icons? React icons. High refresh. Scroll watcher. Formic. Weird stuff. Okay. Do we get like? Oh, so there's an event and then an expanded, okay. Okay, now we can move all of this into this accordion details, hopefully. Let's see. And how's it going with your prototyping?
Yeah, I could use some rubber ducking, actually.
All right.
Let me start sharing my screen again.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I concluded with that at least for starters, I'm gonna add a page to the settings where it's like I set up the so yeah, actually I could start by showing you a quick one in quick TSR how it works with a data store. Hang on, let me just pull the right branch.
Yeah.
And stash some local changes. So quick TSR is this little like debug application we have that we use to debug and test things in TSR. And it's basically a small application that is like a minimum, like a reference implementation of TSR and then it takes its input using these files that it monitors. So you have like settings where we enable multi-threading and such things. We have the mappings where we set up, mappings. We have devices and timeline and this newly added data store as well. So let me start up this one and yes, if you switch to my screen share.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
If it works.
Yeah.
There we go. Awesome. So let me pull in a Casper window just for show. So if I play something, if I pick something here, here's a well, it's called Amp, but well, it's Big Bucks Bunny apparently. And as you see here, I've set my X scale to Y scale here. And let me just disable this for now. So here's how it looks like normally. Okay. And if I change this to 0.7 and refresh, now it's scaled, right? And if I leave this to 1, the data store works like this. I set up this reference object where I target 2 properties. Here is the X scale and the Y scale. And then this one called scale, I could call this whatever, Y.
Yeah.
Is a reference to the data store. So if I'm going to increase the duration here so this can run for a while. And then if I go to data store, I can set up a value here, which will replace, well, the other reference value with this one. So if I store this one, now, I suppose you won't see the latency here, but yeah, locally, this is very fast. If this is like sub-frame latency, because we don't have to re-resolve any timeline. We don't have to do any resolving whatsoever. So this is like near instant.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking of in SuperConductor, we need to have some kind of like data store here. So what we need to do is like, I'm thinking we need to add this thing. That's step 1. And then step 2 is to like tie an X keys analog value to here. So like set up a reference that this, when I move an X keys panel, this is the value that should change.
Yeah, so basically like a placeholder or something.
Yeah. And then on the timeline object, I have to set up these references somehow to like define that, the X scale and Y scale should be changed according to this reference. So that needs to be done too at some point. But I'm thinking that these references should be set up on the timeline object in the settings for the timeline object. And these are more like a project setting, actually, because you set up these once and then you basically just, you forget about them.
Okay, so what you're thinking is basically that you have this junction with the data store that has these reusable values, and then you could basically say, I want to, for this point, for this field of the object, I'm going to want to use this value from this data store. And then that data store can be live and directed by something. Okay.
Yeah, so I should basically set up like, let's say fader 1, fader 2, fader 3, here, and then tie this to a certain X keys device and like that. And then here would be where I tie this to fader 1 and fader 2 and such. Yeah. There we go. Oh yeah, fader 1. There we go. So that's something I'm thinking how I envision this. So I need to put something like this in the project settings. So if I jump back to SuperConductor, I'm starting to think about the data store on the project, and I'm thinking we should add the data store actions, something called data store actions or something like that, where we store these things. So we would have an ID, the data store key. There should probably be a label for us to be shown to users, because the key wouldn't really be shown to users anywhere. And then we should have like a tie to the X keys analog thing, and we have something called a full identifier in SuperConductor, which is basically, let me show you an example. It's basically like an absolute value. It consists of the bridge ID, which is the TSR bridge, the device ID, which represents which X keys panel it is, and then the identifier, which basically identifies the button or the fader or something. Okay. So this is like a fully qualified URL basically to a certain button. So I'm thinking like if we tie this here, then there would be, I suppose we should have a value. We should probably have a value. This, if we add it here, it makes it persistent, but that's maybe what we want actually. And yeah, and then we have the relative versus absolute thing, which I talked about before, which we should probably have in some way. I don't really know how to do that. And then I just started with a placeholder function here, how I would generate the data store from this, because the data store is the TSR type. Yeah. So this is what we will send into TSR later. So using that, we would go through the data store actions on the project. We would basically assign the value, and that's it, really. I have to talk about the modified, how we should do this. Or if we should add like the modified, maybe we should add that here actually. Yeah. And this is good. This is maybe a good start, because if I jump over to the GUI side here, I should data store actions. Then I should I've started on like an analog references page. Maybe I will rename that. But get my project.
Where is this? Why? What? Okay.
That's it.
So I've run into some really unusual stuff on my side. So there's so apparently there's something measuring the header height, and I'm not quite sure what this is.
Oh yes, there is. There is like this infinite scroll thing.
Yeah.
That increases performance.
Yeah. I noticed that, but like, what's the point of this contraption?
The sidebar content.
Okay. I'm gonna do the most stupid thing ever, which is just remove everything and like work my way out of it.
Yeah, I think that's gonna break things, I'm afraid. I think that the content, yeah, okay. So I think, let's see. If I remember correctly, the content has to have an absolute height in order for the innards of it to work, because the infinite scroll functionality needs to have like an outer height value, so it knows how to calculate if something is.
Yeah, but like, in order to do that, the only thing that's necessary is for this to be relative, to create a context. But if this provides a context, then...
No, you can't, because the outer height needs to be absolute, because it will move around and add things inside of it. So that's why it's.
But the infinite scrolling thing is wrapped in an absolute element anyway. So this content has the scroll watch container, and that's absolutely positioned anyway.
Yeah, but I think okay. So sorry, I didn't mean an absolute position, but it has to be having a height, a defined height.
It seems to be working. Okay, let's
yeah.
see.
Now
I
try
expand
it
this.
with less than. Yeah, I mean it totally might be. So it might be so that you're right. It might also be an edge case, because I know I spent like a week on getting those
Okay.
damn infinites to work.
So I'm gonna remove it, and you're gonna tell me if it breaks something or not. I mean, it seems. I mean, because I was thinking, okay, what if it doesn't update dynamically? But it seems to be updating the height dynamically anyway. Because basically, what I need is to be able to resize this upper part. That's what I want. That's what I'm after. To be able to not take up that much space, and instead just say detail filters and say 2, and then you can open it up and see, okay, I've got these sort of filters set up.
No, because that looks awesome.
Okay. Is it complaining
it would
about
be
anything?
like.
So what I did,
The use
basically
case to test would be to have like 0 elements, 1 element, 20 elements, and 1,000 elements. Those are like the test cases need to be checked, because
Because basically what I changed is that this is now a CSS grid, and then this basically sizes up to a given height. So as much as content needs.
Oh, yeah.
And this one has no height at all, but it is a position relative, which means then this inherits whatever height is taken up because this is position absolute. So it receives the height from this thing. So feels
what
like
you're
it might
saying is
work.
that instead of spending a week of troubleshooting that thing, I should have just asked like an actual UI programmer that would tell me use CSS Grid instead, and then it will all work.
I mean, CSS Grid is a solution to many problems.
Yes. Maybe, yeah. You know, maybe that sounds really good to me.
Let's see. I mean, it feels like it should work. I'm not. I mean, I don't see that value being set over here. It isn't piped in anywhere else. So I'm thinking maybe it doesn't matter. Let's see. Is the sidebar content being used by anything else other than the library? Resource library, edit group.
Yeah, we have the edit group and edit part and edit Hammond object. But those are, I mean, the content is.
So this thing. Oh, okay. So this needs the same. Probably could use the same sort of approach. So we can just reuse this. So instead of saying this, we're gonna say this. And instead of saying this, we're gonna just say header is regular Joe. And then sidebar needs to be a grid. And yeah, everything else stays. Yep, okay. Looks good. Do we need anything else? Header, padding, title. I guess maybe now it has a little bit more than it needs. No, this is fine. I'm not entirely sure if this. Let's see, library. Give me the library. Yeah, this is taking too much space. Let's just drop that title thing. It's that title margin bottom. Yeah. Unnecessary. Okay, so there's this thing and this thing needs its space. Okay. I guess this is useful. Still kind of feel like this is too much. Too much space wasted. Space, header, title. Oh, okay, this one is... Okay, let's just resource library. SX. Yeah, okay. Nice, tighter, less space, good. And this thing,
it's not terrible. What about if you click on the part itself and the group?
Yeah, I mean, they
that's
shouldn't really be affected.
Yeah. Oh, well, that looks fairly good.
Okay, so now detailed filters needs a like display or hidden, and now let's do a as detailed filters. And then has detailed filters needs to go here. And then filter value and plus maybe actually if this is greater than 0, it's like this. Is this greater than 0? Resource type filter value length greater than 0. And then reduce. And then that's initial value is 0. And the dependencies are device filter value and resource type filter value. And then that's called detail filters count. And then we put it on here, and then detailed as detailed filters greater than 0, and then this goes into not hidden if doesn't have. Good. The amount of filter elements. Okay. How's your thing going?
Yeah, compiling. No, but
Okay.
I'm still nothing is showing yet, but I trying to add something to the GUI that I could use. But I mean, we could start with let's see. This is the now. Yeah, to just get something going.
Well, I mean, don't feel pressured. The point isn't to feel pressure. The point is to try and do something, and then basically, show other people that doing something in SuperConductor doesn't exactly require rocket science. Although I have to admit, the thing that you're doing is kind of
this
complicated.
definitely feels. Yeah, this wouldn't be. I wouldn't recommend anyone jumping into this thing. First thing to do. But yeah, but it is very nice. I mean, maybe actually talking about development. I mean, when starting development in TypeScript, there are a few. Maybe we can talk about like a few tips and tricks that is like very essential for a TypeScript programmer. Something that like you won't pick them up automatically on your own. I think it's like you have to you have to see others using them and in order to pick them up, I think. So one thing I use quite a lot is this is VS Code, but to do the Shift F12 to do a looking up of all references to something. So for example, here I have the project. And I know that it's a project because I see that in the IntelliSense. And by hitting F12, well, okay, Shift F12 in this case. Okay, actually, here we are. I can see it's defined here. And to actually see the project itself, how the type is defined, I go to this one and hit F12. And another shortcut I use quite a lot is the go forward and back buttons. So in my case, I use Alt arrow key left and right. So if I want to go back, I just do Alt left, and then we're back here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
If I would do,
that's useful.
Yeah, and then now if I want to go back forward to where I was, it's Alt right, and now I'm here, which is very useful because then I can quickly like look at something and then Alt left to go back.
Cool.
I am a little bit unsure actually when I lose the history. Like, so for now, if my latest is here, right? So I can do something here and then I can go back here. But if I do something here, I can still do Alt right to go forward again. But I don't really know like how far can I move my cursor now before I lose my forward history, so to speak. But anyway, so that's quite useful. Shift F12, and Alt left and right is something. Those are the ones I use a lot. But then, like in some cases where we don't have absolutely strict typings, so for example, where Yeah, if I want to go to the X keys file, for example, Control P and just typing X keys is a nice way to just traverse to those files. So here we're back into that file we were before. And then now, like if I want to see like where we're actually subscribing to this event, this isn't really that tightly defined. So, oh, yeah, it actually is in this case. Okay, so I can actually shift F12 to go here. But in some cases, especially with events, it's often the case that it isn't that strictly defined type-wise. So, but Control to mark it and then Control Shift F to do a global search for it is something I often do to find like these loose types and loose ends to find them for, like, if I want to find this, Control Shift F. It's here. Okay. Also, something that is quite useful is the refactoring functions in VS Code. So, like, if I want to rename this, if you see here, it's used here and in this file. But if I want to rename it, hitting F2 to rename, and then I can rename it to something else, automatically updates all the references to it, which is quite good to be able to refactor something. And that's quite useful. So yeah, I haven't gotten that far in my implementation yet. I realized I made this little interface earlier today. And this is basically the data store that when I move the analog T-bar or something, this is the value that I store in this session in SuperConductor. So I'm thinking that maybe, since this contains the full identifier, it contains the value, maybe this is the thing I should store in the settings here too. But I'm a little bit unsure if this is the way. Maybe it would be enough to store the full identifier. I'm going with this for now. Maybe I should change it later. We'll see. Yeah. So I basically think, oh yeah, here. So like here, for example, is another nice shortcut. I have a problem now, build error, because I added the data store actions to the project, and I have forgotten to add it here to, this seems to be a default property here. But to just do Control space gives you suggestions. So for example, if I have an array, let's see if I found an array here, or for example, project dot something, then I get this value. But if I also just place my cursor here, I get the same value by hitting Control space. So in this case, it's very nice to just put the cursor here, Control space, and I see that, yeah, I have the data store actions and auto refresh interval, which is an optional, so I don't have to add that. But this one I have to add. Yeah, I'll just take an edit object there. That should be fine. One error. Yeah, here we have another default object.
Okay, and I think I'm nearing my stuff, but one thing I want to really do is to have a smaller checkbox for those lists, because those checkboxes are really big. They're really annoying, and I essentially okay, this is a good way to do it. And what I essentially want is a smaller version of the checkbox that I can use in those lists, because then you can easily navigate and select your filters, which would be nice. Let's just do that. Let's say I need checkbox, and I also need a props, and then box, and then there's like 1,000. Yeah, okay, so they just do SX and then expand on it. Okay, so let's just do that. Let's say SX, and I don't want any padding on this. Do we do anything else here with this checkbox? No. Oh, it's size small. Yeah, sounds like a good thing to add. So we add size small, and yeah, it should be. We want to use our small checkbox. Small checkbox. And let's import it from my. Some reason TypeScript today is really bad at auto figuring out imports. I wonder why that is.
Yeah, sometimes it helps to do a restart of the TS.
Yeah, it does.
TS server, but especially if you like installed new dependencies or rebuilt libraries or rebuilt packages in a monorepo, it often is a good idea to do that. But
yeah, because it like tracks removals, but it doesn't really track inserts.
no, there's an open issue on the VS Code project since like forever, where yeah, exactly what you say, it tracks removal but not addition. So if we do a rebuild of a package, it will, well, our rebuilds generally do first a removal of the old code and then rebuilds it and adds it back, and then it will just, yeah, it will track that it was removed, but it won't see that it was re-added. So it will just say, oh well, actually nothing exists, which is kind of
yeah, that's unhelpful. Checkbox. No. We're not using checkbox anymore. And this is a small checkbox. Probably you can add like small right padding. Really tiny. No. And refresh. Refresh already. Yeah, that's a little bit too much. I think number 1 was the good choice. okay. You can see all way more items, and you can see way more devices.
So if you hit OBS now, for example,
Yeah.
or OS, yeah, or if you pick Casper, for
Yeah.
example, you only see the Casper ones, and then if in the next button, filter resources by type, do you see only the Casper ones, or do you
No,
still
not
see all?
really. I mean, I guess in order to do that, we would need. Is there like a type that maps which ones are valid for which?
There, I well,
Is there some way of like, or do I need to just set
yeah,
up one? Because that's the thing. That's why I kind of didn't do that, because like then we need, because I think, because there's this enum called resource type over here that is basically like, well, these are all the types that we have of resources.
oh yeah, because we have okay, yeah, yeah, this is ours.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could create a new enum here to say, well, these are valid for Casper CG and these are valid for atoms and these are
Yeah,
valid, but that would be like a manual process.
yeah, I have another alternative suggestion then, and that would be to like instead of filtering that, you could like do a like check what types are actually displayed right now and only show the ones that are. So like, I mean, right now, if you scroll the list, you see that there's an OSC, an HTTP send, and Casper
So
CG
what you're
template.
basically saying is to only display the types that are in the resource library in the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then like if you pick to filter for Casper CG first, then well, okay, then there's only Casper CG ones displaying. So then you will only see the ones
Yeah, which will
for
match,
Casper
yeah,
CG.
for Casper CG. Yeah,
Which
that's
would make
good.
this list very short too. So that's, I mean, it's worse for discoverability, but it makes the list shorter.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I definitely want to add now is like a clear role button somewhere here. So like if you set this up, there should be a button somewhere over here to like say, I don't want any filters, go away.
Yeah, clear. Yeah. And also possibly like yeah, maybe it would be better for later, but to be able to save a search. I don't know if
Yeah, I mean, saving a search is certainly a good thing. The question is, how do we manage them? Is there like a special
yeah,
GUI and stuff, and like
yeah, what's
when
the
are they
timeline?
valid? There's just so many questions to answer, and I kind of like, yeah, I mean, we can always add that, but like, we can then deliver this.
Yeah, it can be a later thing, definitely.
Yeah.
Or it should be a later thing.
Resource types. Okay, well, I think I can do that resource thing that you talked about. Resource types, yes, because there's resource types, and I can easily, instead of doing this here, I can do it in these effect things, callbacks, memos, yes. Resource filtered by device. And I can do the sorted resources, device filter value, resources filtered by device. So now let's go through resources filtered by device. Actually, let's do it like this. Go through resources filter by device. create a new set. Resource type. Add resource type, and then this should become resource type. Now this. Yeah. Let's see. Some problems. Resource filtered by device as any. Ah. No, that's enough. Okay. Yeah, seems to be working.
Oh, nice.
Can only see the ones that are actually available. So
Cool. And now if you filter the first one for like OC or...
yeah, so like if I'm just gonna see the ones.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah, because that makes it so much faster to select.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, definitely needs the clear button, but I think I'm pretty happy with this. Have you gotten anywhere with your prototype?
Well, I'm like in the process of making discoveries and realizations.
Okay.
So yeah, if you switch over to me, I can
Yeah,
show
sure.
you. I realized that my previous assumption that I wanted to store the values on the project, I realized that that's not a good idea.
Okay.
So I invented a new store, the analog store, because we want this to be performant, right? We want this to, like, when we do a change, we want as little things to change as
Yeah.
possible. And the project is like we actually store like settings and things that doesn't change that often in here.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely don't want this to change whenever we, if we pull a lever, then
Yeah.
you would get 255 updates
Yeah.
within a second, and you don't want to. There would be a lot of diffing and events being emitted if we put things in the project, or I would
Mm-hmm.
have to like pull those out and make comparisons, and so I don't want to do that. So instead, what I'm gonna do is that I'm only gonna store the label and the full identifier. So these are just settings. These are
Mm-hmm.
the label set and like when you create it, and then the full identifier is set when you tie it to a lever,
Mm-hmm.
and then these won't update. And then this full identifier is basically a reference to the analog store. And this is the thing that contains the changes. So
Mm-hmm.
when we get a an updated value from a lever, we will first check like is this tied to something? Checking
Mm-hmm.
the project settings, and if yes, then okay, then we will update this, and this contains both this active analog, which is the data object that we get from the lever, which contains the the absolute and the relative value and stuff. And then I'm thinking we will also store like a calculated value and modified, which is like persistent, because the absolute and relative value in the analog aren't, they're persistent within a session, but when you restart the application, they will go away.
Mm-hmm.
Because these are the raw data that come from the device, and like
Yeah.
if you restart it, they will go away. But the calculated value here will be persistent. We will make sure that that's persistent, and that will be calculated using those absolute or relative rule sets that we will add later. That's how far I've gotten now. But this is quite nice because then this is a new data structure. I have to add, that data structure into, so we store that in a good way on disk as well when we need to. And yeah, but then that would be nice because we will only emit those events like once per thing. So that's good. We can probably also like even throttle updates to the client maybe, so we don't send more updates to the client than like, I don't know, no more than 60 times per second, but maybe 10 times per second is enough to, I don't know. But then we'll send all the updates to the data store in order to update the TSR. So that's basically how far I've gotten now. I don't have anything like more to show, but if you switch to my webcam, I've I'm gonna add so that we have something here. We'll have a page here, analog references, and we'll be able to add new
Cool.
I don't know if we should call them references or something else.
Inputs, maybe analog inputs.
Analog inputs. Yeah, that's not a terrible idea. And so then you will be able to add them here. So like you would add fader 1, fader 2, fader 3 here. And there will be, just like here, you will have like a button you click and then it will say wiggle your peripheral to assign it or something like that. So we can have a teach function.
Yeah, cool.
Like also like in the future when we add MIDI panels, for example, then teaching is basically the only way we can use them. There won't be a list of, because we might not know that the fader exists until you wiggle it, basically.
Yeah.
So so we have to go with a teaching approach.
Well, what I can show is that I did just 2 minutes ago, I did create a pull request for allow filtering per resource type.
Ooh, very nice.
So yeah, SonarCloud has already found a single bug, which is to be expected.
I wonder...
security hotspot. Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, there's still a little bit way to go, but I'm pretty proud of myself. I mean, I haven't touched SuperConductor in quite a while, so it was a fun thing. And I think I am leaving it in better state than I found it, so I think that's good.
Yeah, very nice. Unfortunately I see that the GitHub, what's it called, the a tying of issues. Like you can say in a GitHub comment, or a commit message, the closes and the resolves and stuff. Unfortunately, it didn't pick up on I think this resolves. So we have to,
I mean, it sees this thing.
It sees the reference, so that's good. Yeah. But yeah, but this is great. I will definitely give this a review, and should probably be merged quite soon.
I can do this thing. Which successfully merging this pull request may close these issues, and I think that links it. Yeah.
Oh,
that's linked.
Nice.
So yeah, so I just need to solve security hotspots and bugs and stuff, and yeah, we're gonna have a new, better filtering.
And then I can show you, if you jump to my screen share.
Yeah.
We do have a pull request. We can merge because here we have this template transitions
fix, yeah,
that I created yesterday,
cool.
that Alex have reviewed now.
Nice.
We had such a... Did you see this? It was such a strange bug.
No, I mean, I heard of it. Like, I've seen that there's a problem in the Casper CG connection that like thinks you can transition out of it, and therefore it needs to send the play empty instead of a CG stop.
Yeah, exactly. So we have this quick fix with just just remove all the transitions for the templates, because they don't really, it doesn't really make sense anyway. So let me just show you a quick one how a release works, because
I mean, I have to go, unfortunately.
We're out of time. Yeah, that's true.
I need to do some other errands, but this was fun.
It was.
Yes. It's really nice to do something for Hacktoberfest. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna sign off. You can check out some new PRs from Jan coming soon in SuperConductor, and yeah, I mean, there's plenty of issues to be picked up. Many of them aren't all that complicated. The thing is, SuperConductor is kind of a big application, so there's a lot of features that like would be nice to have. So yeah, wish everyone a good Hacktoberfest, and yeah, hopefully see you some other time.
Yeah, let's do this again.
Yeah,
maybe
right.
not in a year, but maybe sooner than that.
Yeah, maybe sooner than that. Yeah, right. Take care.
All right.
See ya.
See you.
Bye-bye.